to finish their investigation. That after he'd worked 600 hours with no paid overtime in a week where he couldn't even go home, the man had ended his life. Working for one of the most famous anime studios in Japan, got off completely scot-free.
In order to know what's even worse, how much coverage do you think this got, given how popular anime is?
The lines are like 5 hours.
Earthquake, we're all fucking.
I mean,
T-Dog.
that's a lot.
None. It was like it never happened.
And in my quest to find out the answer to one simple question, I unearthed the dark truth that anime would rather you not know. That behind the cute girls running around on your screen is a war that has been raging since before World War II, entangling in it some of the most famous Japanese people in history, from the seats of power in the Japanese government all the way across the ocean to the doorsteps of Walt Disney. A war that has consumed countless numbers of innocent lives and dreams as people fight to just be treated like human beings, hijacked by companies exploiting the fallout of anime's god, dooming it all to slowly fall apart at the seams.
So who's the company?
The worst part is, you've been staring at the truth for years. It's just been one click away.
Crunchyroll?
In January 2019, a new horror anime was released, featuring a group of orphans being raised to slaughter. The Promised Neverland quickly became the most popular of the season.
They fucked
Every
up the
man,
second
woman,
season.
and child was
I
talking
hated
about
it.
it. The story, the characters, the atmosphere, everything was phenomenal. So when The Promised Neverland Season 2 was announced in early 2021,
It
anime
was
fans
a-
expected
oh,
nothing less than
fuck.
an epic sequel to the story that shook the winter of 2019. But that's not what they got.
Nope,
Just
this
finished
shit was
watching
so
episode 6 of Promised
garbage.
Neverland Season 2, and it is the most abominable, putrid pile of dog shit I've ever seen.
The second season
in
of
an
The
anime.
Promised Neverland was bad. Like, really bad. And what happened
Yeah,
to
that
that
shit
second
was
season quickly became one of
garbage.
the biggest mysteries of 2021. How did such a popular series
It
suddenly
fucking
turn into
went.
such a dumpster fire? Was the animation studio just inept? Was it higher up corporate
Terrible.
pressure? Was the manga artist pulling the strings? Nobody knew, and virtually nothing was said about it. Overshadowed by the other two series Studio Cloverworks made in
Horimiya,
2021,
Wonder
The
Egg.
Promised Neverland Season 2 was
Those
seemingly
two are
thrown
so
out the
fucking
window as if the
good.
entire
Wonder
series
Egg.
was a failure. As if the
So
first season
good.
wasn't a mega popular success. As if the studio was in debt or something.
What?
As fans were finishing up Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan Season 3, Cloverworks would reveal something odd. After having produced not only The Promised Neverland, but also Darling in the Franxx and Bunny Girl Senpai in the same fiscal year, the studio had made no profit. In fact, they were 7 million yen in the hole. And they were lucky, because as the anime industry reported that it grew to a market cap of 2 trillion.
Bro, how? Bunny Girl Senpai and Darling in the Franxx and Promised Neverland Season 1? Bro, that's like... That's... How the fuck? Oh shit. How the fuck are they in 7 million... Did they say yen? Or dollar? US dollar? In debt?
No profit. In fact, they were 7 million yen in the hole. And
7 million. What? Bro, both Promised Neverland. Bro, no, not even that. Darling in the Franxx alone was so fucking popular for so many years. And then Bunny Girl Senpai was very popular as well.
And they were lucky,
I
because the
love
anime
those
industry
shows, I ain't
reported
gonna
that it
lie.
grew to a market cap of 2 trillion yen. Industry surveys reported that the back end of the anime industry was actually in a crisis. 40% of all studios in debt, the industry shrinking by 5%, anime numbers collapsing for 4 years straight, and what seemed like an endless stream of employee horror stories. It was so bad that some reports even predicted the industry's imminent collapse, something that anime had actually done to itself. In the 1960s, the manga and anime industry
so
got
fuck-
into a civil
that's
war.
just still, like-
Specifically, this man, godfather of manga Osamu Tezuka, thought Japan's biggest animation studio was a load of shit. Toei thought Tezuka was a massive bitch. Feeling like he had no control over his story and the production process, Tezuka decided to build his own anime studio from the fortune he made and take the direction of anime into his own hands,
What do you
eventually arriving at his crown jewel, an anime adaptation of his manga masterpiece, Astro Boy.
shit.
Now with an
Astro
anime
Boy.
on his hands, all you had to do was bid for a slot in the air, which unbeknownst to Tezuka meant that he had to outbid the one and only.
Walt Disney.
Did you check with the government and see if they needed any money lately?
Faced with the challenge of having to financially outbid Disney in order to air his anime to the public, Tezuka realized something important. He might not have been as rich as Disney, but he had bigger balls. And so he decided to take the age-old financial advice of, if you can't buy it, then go into debt for it. A lot of debt for it. Oh, don't worry about how you're gonna pay them. Luckily, since Astro Boy was already popular in Japan and Tezuka decided to push for the unheard of rate of an episode a week, Tezuka managed to turn his smart financial decision into billions of dollars of profit through the power of marketing and merchandise. Faced with that amount
Astro
of
Boy
money,
is
other
a
animation
very,
studios quickly
like,
conformed to this
people
weekly
really like
schedule,
the
using Tezuka's
characters.
refined techniques to kind of cheat the animation process and make it easier to upload every week, and sending Tezuka to the god of anime, as well as manga. It's a spicy title. There's only one problem though. Astro Boy looks like this.
That night,
Yeah.
at the Institute of Science,
Modern
headed by
anime
Astor's
looks
father,
like this.
And it looks crazy.
And that weekly upload schedule has not changed. In addition, not every animation studio could just go into hilarious amounts of debt. And while TV stations and the government could initially make
essentially
up that
they
shortfall by the
don't
time
need to
Neon
go
Genesis
into that.
Evangelion rolled around, anime
It doesn't have to look that good for people to like it. It just has to be like develop the good, like it's just like good. Like I don't know how to explain it, but like there's enemies that literally don't have too much detail or too much like crazy like animation, this and that, but it's like kind of like, you know, more the slice of life ones. Like
it was just getting
they don't
way
need
too
like
expensive.
crazy
And with Japan's economic miracle about to
animation or like
explode in the
but
country's
like a
face, the
stupid
decision was made to
crazy, like,
implement a relatively
time
unknown
make.
funding strategy that had in it a slow creeping death. That explains how animators can barely afford food while their creations go on to rake in billions of dollars of profit and being nearly impossible to escape from. But the worst part is, you already know what it is. K-On! Is a slice of life anime involving a
is a
group
really
of high
good
school
one.
girls who make a band
I
called
really
the
like that.
Sakurako K-On! Bu. It's a pretty cute show, but when I watched it for the first time, I found something really off. Besides the fact that Mio overrated, Ritsu best girl, in the opening of every episode, an inexplicable blurb of text would appear on screen without fail that made me question my sanity.
Wait,
Here,
what?
see if you can spot it. There. The show about the fictional Sakurako K-On! Bu was produced by the Sakurako K-On! Bu. And once I saw that, it was like the floodgates had opened. Nier Automata, Land of the Lustrous,
How fucking am I
Anohana,
supposed to read that?
Promised Neverland. Nearly every single anime had this weird little text at the end, and then some just didn't include it. And with how anime credits are structured, the most important people
Bocchi
come
the
at the
Rock.
end.
I'm
So
trying
what
to
was
watch
more
that.
important
I'm
than
trying
the
to
animation
finish that.
studio, the anime director, and even the original author? Remember when I brought up Astro Boy and Chainsaw Man? Well, let me ask you something. What's the actual difference between these two anyways? More colors? More
No.
detail?
More money
More
that
good
comes
stuff?
with it.
I mean, okay, this picture probably took longer to draw, but aren't animation studios made up of artists? Just throw a few on there and it would take like an hour, right? It can't be that, oh my god. That's where the problem is. Not only is there like a million frames in a single anime episode, there's 2D art, 3D art, special effects, voice actors, music, people who plan, stage, direct, scriptwrite, edit, manage the whole operation. Whether it's so employees know what's going on or keeping character models consistent so a character doesn't suddenly become a different race the next time you see them, the anime production process is ginormous. So with all these people running around and
Fucking
busting their asses to
Naruto.
make your favorite anime, let me ask you a question. Who's gonna pay all of it?
7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered.
Making anime is like entering the stock market.
Freaked out, waiting to see how low will go.
When you buy a company's stock, you're technically buying an ownership in the company, which means that you technically have power over what the company does. But come on, what are you gonna do with your 0.1 shares of Apple? And we all know due diligence is a myth. Now, okay, forget about all that bullshit. What's the real reason you invest in the stock market? Money. And that, my friends, is what Neon Genesis Evangelion did to anime. It turned the entire thing into the stock market.
Money.
Which means that, yeah, a few girls and a guy with mental health issues have made it so that you could own a portion of your favorite anime and even make money off of it if it does well. Isn't that great? I lied. You can't. Because the only people allowed to enter the anime market are people who can pull a Tezuka and spin an anime into $1 billion of profit, which nowadays means you have to be a corporation. And with each anime being infinitely more complicated than the last, and production values skyrocketing with little to stop them, more and more bigger and bigger corporations are being called on to invest in the anime that you want. Which means all these companies are fighting over how they want the anime to go, making the entire process an expensive bureaucratic nightmare. Wait, hold up a second. If production values are going up, then why are 40% of all anime studios in debt? Shouldn't the production committee raise enough money to cover the wages and the production? Well, let me introduce you to one man. PewDiePie.
What?
You remember that time Felix was waging a sub battle against T-Series? Well, number-wise, he
Yeah.
lost. Spoiler alert. But does anyone actually care? It wasn't like after the dust settled, everyone thought he was a massive loser and
T-Series
unsubscribed.
very
This,
full of.
incidentally, is how Japanese companies work. Replace a few labels on the graph, and suddenly you have Japanese inter-corporate culture, or something like that.
Since production committees are made up of companies coming from various industries, if two companies come from the same industry, say body pillows, there will inevitably be one company that outsells the other, aka a winner and a
And a
loser.
loser.
Actually, it should be the other way around. And Japanese companies
Uh-huh.
really don't like being the loser. So much to the point that there will only be one company per industry on the production committee, severely limiting the amount of money that can go into anime production, because companies have budgets. And okay, you know what, let's just get someone in the industry to explain it
それ
instead.
が2000万円だったとした
They
ら
want to invest
1000万円しかできない。でも権利は絶対に
10% of the
10%欲しい
rights.
となると2000円が
They
10%
make
に
maximum
Okay, Japanese
budget.
companies suck.
Jinx!
But what about foreign
Holy
ones?
Surely
shit!
some big international company has looked at this and realized it
Can
might
you
make
get
them some
down?
money, right?
Well, no, not really.
You already
because
ate.
Anime is a stock.
Get on the
and
floor.
in stocks, money
Get
is
down.
controlled.
Hurry up.
So to prevent some
Hurry up.
random ass
Look at
company
your
from essentially
primordial
buying
stat.
out their anime, the production committee
Get
would take
down.
that foreign investment meant
Jump.
for one anime and instead of put it
Thank
into 100, screwing literally every party over just to maintain their majority control.
でそれは何かっていうと談合状態
And
で
what can the people who draw the anime do about this?
Nothing.
Nothing. Because most of the time, they're not even on the committee. And even if they
Nope.
are, they don't have enough ownership to force the
Fuck
committee
no.
to raise more money. So they're put into a very pleasant position of having to make anime with pretty much no money. And they
Yep.
do make an anime because they signed a contract that says they have to. And once that
Mhm.
anemically funded anime goes out, the production committee turns around and says, oh wow, you made this anime with no money? Clearly you're capable, so why don't we do it again? This is what the Sakurako Keonbu actually is. The production committee. Who doesn't value anime for your petty little reasons like laughs, tears, or childhood memories, but as a means to one single end, to make as much money as possible. But hold on a minute, let's not jump to conclusions here. Production committees are kind of scummy, but it's not like they're all evil mustache trolling
だから
villains.
これはまあ良し悪しなんだけど今日はあえていいもの悪者っていうのを設定して話してみる
And unfortunately, the service they provide is
Get
kind
down,
of necessary.
get down.
How many studios can
Get
you
down,
think of that
hurry
can
up.
cough up the multiple
No,
hundreds of
what do you
thousands
want
of
from me?
dollars that it costs to
Get
just
down.
produce
No,
one
you
episode
already
of
ate,
anime, let alone
fellow
the
boy.
millions it takes to
Get
produce
down,
an
you
entire
already ate
season.
today.
And don't forget,
Or-
these anime that you
today.
watch, they're all
You
products
literally-
of survival.
you ate like an hour
These
ago,
actually
Jinx. You do not
survived the
need more.
process. Imagine the 90% of anime that get
Pretty
all
sure I
this
fed
funding
you
just
right
to never
before I
be
started
released, which would put
streaming.
studios into multiple millions
Right
of dollars
before I
of debt.
started
These
streaming.
anime studios need
You
money
eat
to
that shit
survive,
up,
and the
that's
production
you.
committee does that for them, even if it's really shittily. They raise the money and allocate it to revenue stream. The anime, the merch, the t-shirts, the body pillows. It's just ironic that out of all of these streams of income, the least profitable part of it is the anime itself.
Hello, everybody. My name is.
How do you think YouTubers make money? Discounting all the merch, sponsorships, and all the other stuff. The main way any YouTuber makes money off YouTube itself is ads.
video.
Sorry about that. Advertisers want to make a lot of money by selling a lot of stuff to a lot of people, which means they'll pay more for ads to either reach a lot of people, or the really rich people, or both. Which is anime's issue. Because the time anime is aired on TV in Japan is not really conducive to advertisers. With the waking hours being taken up by shows that are aimed at an audience that usually doesn't have any money, and the shows that are actually aimed at people who have money are aired at a time when most of them are asleep. Which means advertisers won't pay that much unless it's an uber popular anime like Demon Slayer. So if anime doesn't make that much money, then what does?
So I'm waiting in line to get the figures. They've gone to get the figures. This man in front of me literally just spent about $6 grand on Kirito.
$10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000.
$10,000.
That boy.
Just like how Tezuka put his bets on the power of otaku, so do modern production committees, who invest the majority of their money not into making the anime, but getting the word out about the anime, and making all the merch that anime fans gobble up, which through a strange turn of events has resulted in this. Do you notice something wrong? Why
Yeah.
is this DVD so expensive? The price of anime DVDs have always looked kind of ridiculous to me. You want me to pay almost $50 for a part of a season of an anime that I can just watch online for free? I mean, through verified online streaming sites? And beyond that, people don't buy DVDs anymore,
No.
right?
Sweet, because I have a lot. I have a few hundred.
Well, as it turns out, people still do. And in fact, anime DVDs are like this MacBook Pro stand, a luxury item, overpriced because the profit made from the people buying is enough to outweigh all the lost profit from the people who don't. In fact, in the good old days, anime DVDs used to make so much profit that it's propped up entire studios before.
Spoiler alert, those good old days are over. Because nowadays, most anime is watched through streaming services like Crunchyroll and Netflix, so the committee requires pay a few $1,000s minimum per anime episode in an attempt to recoup production costs.
Get out of the way!
Usually completely hopeless. Because did I mention that anime is getting so expensive that entire production committees are going into debt? Which lends itself to the unfortunate realization that, yeah, your life is probably worth less than Oreimo or El Manga Sensei is worth to the production committee. Because just like the money raised for anime came through them first, the money profited from anime goes to the committee first as well. Because they are the ones that technically own the anime. Because anime is a stock, and only the owners of that stock get to reap the profit of it. Besides, the creators involved in the project already got paid up front. Not our problem if they went over budget. Which means even if an anime is a big hit, sometimes the anime studio doesn't get a single penny. Knowing all this would explain why, even though the anime production industry has been collapsing inwards for a few years, anime and the anime distribution industry have reached all-time highs. Because they're either paid on their own terms or through being on the production committee. Not starved of money and also getting the profits last, which makes anime studios mass outsourcing work to lower wage countries like China or the Philippines seem a lot more reasonable. Well, it would be more reasonable if it made everyone's life easier, but it doesn't. Because now with workers spread out all over the world, it becomes increasingly more difficult to coordinate this ginormous border transcending system to match the week-on-week deadlines that someone decided the anime industry should move at. Because at the end of the day, give a studio all the money they want, but it's never gonna matter if the anime just never comes out.
Damn, I forgot the audio. Read the audio, my bad.
The final season of Attack on Titan is kind of a joke. Delays on top of delays have turned the finale of Isayama's story into perhaps the only real-life example of an infinite fractal. And for a series where the final season was handed off from the incumbent WIT Studios to Mappa solely because WIT was having some behind-the-scenes chaos, it's just... how? No, like, I'm serious, how? How do anime studios who outsource work in these massive amounts have these kinds of production issues? Especially when the employees are working so many hours that it's being compared to literal slavery. Well, let me ask you a question. If you were a freelance animator working on some no-name anime, would you keep working at these amazing wage rates? What about like twice over? Thrice over? How about 10 times over? No, I'm being completely serious. Because not only is VA and sound work done before the animation is completed, meaning studios have to rush out a rough draft for the VAs before then going back and then remaking everything for real, if you look closer at the production system chart that was somehow legibly translated from a 240p picture, you'll realize that the vast majority of the blocks here are literally just checking if things are done right and then redoing them over and over again. Which, even though it works, pisses off literally everyone involved in making an anime. Whether it's the higher-ups, the entry-level workers, the production committee, or even the audience, forced to watch as the system hemorrhages time away as it's stuck looping the same track over and over and over again, creating an uncontrollable crisis that forces more and more employees to work longer and longer hours to make up for all the time wasted away, until inevitably someone, somewhere, reaches their breaking point. In 2019, a Madhouse employee sued the company after working nearly 400 hours of unpaid overtime in 1 month, doing the very important job of coordinating this ginormous mess. After having to drive around all night and day in a company car delivering materials to studio employees, the consequences of this broken system finally caused him to collapse on the street as he returned home at 7 a.m. But come on, is it really that surprising? I mean, the most obvious consequence of having such a huge production system is that there are so many points of failure. One delay. Anywhere, whether it's because the director overslept, the animator got an injury, or some outsourced person is late on delivery, one delay cascades down the entire system, causing everything behind it to get even further behind. The worst part is, the anime industry kind of brought this one on themselves too. With nearly every studio being in Tokyo and pay rates being not so great, many employees are forced to work on multiple jobs, in multiple projects, sometimes in multiple companies. This set of circumstances means that every single time an anime upload deadline rolls around, that there's an ungodly crunch hour, where employees are trying to make up for so much lost time that they can't eat, or sleep, or even go home. Because it's not like episodes are worked on one by one, they're worked on in batches of 3 or 4, which means if a delay happens, it's not just merely one episode off schedule, it's a third of the season. With all this pressure and chaos coming down on employees who are most of the time just blameless victims, some people will stay up nights to make those deadlines, while others, understandably, are done with this bullshit and decide to just disappear in the middle of the production process, making everything worse. And almost all of them will wish that this system was different. that they, the government,
so
or
sad.
something will come in and fix this abomination of a system that exploits their passions and dreams to basically voluntarily enslave them. But at the end of the day, all of that is merely just a pipe dream, because the struggle to make anime a good
so
place to work
sad.
has been fought for decades upon decades by some of the most venerable names in Japanese history, and near nothing has changed. Because while our story may have started with The Promised Neverland, the true story stretches far into the past, almost 100 years back to modern anime's birth, when one war ended and another began.
Damn. 1940.
When America occupied Japan at the end of the Second World War, they restructured everything about the country. And that included a concept that most Japanese had never heard of before: collective bargaining. And I mean, it's not too hard to see why labor unions were kind of foreign to the Japanese. In a country where harmony and the respect to hierarchy was the norm for like a lot of years, a ragtag group of subordinate employees getting together and demanding something from their boss was something people just would not do. Inevitably, though, the concept began to see adoption, and in 1961, anime's first labor union was formed, the Toei Animation Labor Union. Remember Toei? And to be fair to the union, they actually did quite a lot. Founded by people involved in the production of Lupin III, and eventually coming to involve a very impassioned chief secretary by the name of Hayao Miyazaki, the union fought tooth and nail, winning concession after concession after concession, but they were on borrowed time. Toei had already started hiring out domestic freelancers in place of permanent employees, making unionization more difficult. 2 years later, Tezuka propped up this weekly upload norm, and then anime started to get really expensive, to the point where, by the time the 70s rolled around, Toei, along with some other anime studios, were hundreds of millions of yen in debt, and Toei decided to conveniently solve the problem by just nuking half of its workforce. As you'd expect, people were pissed. And while the union would fight a 2-year court battle that would recapture 18 of 170 layoffs, 150 of those people, whether laid off or not, permanently left, including 2 friends who went on to establish a studio called Ghibli. After this, the situation only got worse. With anime expenses getting higher and higher, a studio called Sunrise would pioneer the concept of international outsourcing when it produced Mobile Suit Gundam. And as more and more of the industry turned into independent contractors now scattered all across the world, union organization became more and more untenable. And as production committees and the horrible working conditions of the modern anime industry began to solidify, the first generation of animators decided to try one more time to save what they loved so dearly, aimed at appealing the one actor that had more power than the companies did: the government. And to be clear, JNICA, a union founded by old people like Toyo Ishida and Satoshi Kon, was initially just aiming for guaranteeing retirement benefits, nothing more. But as the years rolled on and the working conditions of the anime industry were leaked to the Japanese public, the union gathered more and more members that weren't as old, and eventually became the spearhead of the anime unionization effort, winning a number of things it set out to do, including getting the support of the government of Japan. Unfortunately, that government didn't stay in power for long, and JNICA's proposals were cancelled, being cited as a waste of taxpayers' money. And while JNICA would continue its efforts valiantly, it had reached its peak. Infighting and an unsupportive government doomed any future efforts. The union's last stand would come with a project that translates to anime's future. Proposed to the Department of Cultural Affairs, the entire project's premise was that if you paid people more people would want to come and work. Come on, guys. Really? But for one reason or another, Anime Mirai didn't prove to be successful enough to continue. And the entire program was given to the Japanese Animation Association, a group of 38 of the biggest animation companies in Japan, who coincidentally decided to switch the premise of the program. The anime industry now reaching 90 years old, and JNICA's original founder now dead, most of the old guard took their leave, with nothing to show but blood and defeat in a war that lasted nearly a century. The men and women that had built and fought for anime. Their love. Their life. Their legacy. Finally gave up.
Fuck. 映画本当に素晴らしいのかどうかわからないじゃない。全部私だけじゃない。あやこれ好き。
あ。
呪われた夢なんです。本当にきちんと考えたら映画が好きだってのはただのそういう趣味でしょうっていう。金を稼ぎたいとかそういうのは全部論外。有名になりたいっても論外。そんなのクソくらいでそういうことじゃない。かつてそういう映画が作られたことがあったかもしれないけど。
Hold on.
今も映画の価値があるわけではない。多くはくだらないんですよ、僕らのこの世界は。難しい。
I'm gonna be honest with you, this next part of the video is kind of dangerous. Dangerous because, well, the anime we know and love is gone. Because it's not just some girls running around on a screen anymore. It's a $28 billion system that controls hundreds of thousands of real lives and whose influence has reached hundreds of millions more. So when we talk about fixing it, we're talking about fighting politics, multi-billion-dollar companies, and centuries-old traditions, which, I mean, at the end of the day, that just sounds like we're gonna need a lot more people. Luckily for us, it's not like this hasn't happened before. 4 years before Tezuka would make his debut, his role model Walt Disney was experiencing a similar fallout, as a giant portion of his workforce went on strike for, quote, unfair and disorganized pay practices, after the man himself told them that they should essentially shut the fuck up and go focus on making good work instead. Which kind of begs the question, how did Japan go so wrong? I mean, the unions caught up pretty quickly to Disney after what he did, but Miyazaki couldn't? I mean, Miyazaki and his 98 other friends? Surely they could have fought on for a few more years and avoided this entire shit show, and history would forever know the name of the Toei Animation Labor Union. Oh. Shit. If you take a look at all the anime released nowadays and trace them back to what studio made them, you'll realize that, well, there's not a lot of Toei here. So what exactly would the Toei Union do for anyone who works outside of Toei? Yeah. Nothing. Which is exactly why, even though on paper they accomplished a lot, in reality the Toei Union didn't really do much at all. Because they worked to better the conditions at Toei, not anime. And well, aside from Janica, there was never an anime union. And given that everyone's outsourcing everyone now, it's kind of not possible to make one. Which makes anime the only instance I know of where the companies are better at organizing themselves than the workers. But at the end of the day, unions, politics, power, it all precipitates the actual problem. Money. God, the show is fucking weird. Because regardless of how many other things people want to try and solve first, from how inefficient making anime is to the looming aging crisis it'll soon face, it all stems from the fact that no matter which way you put it, no one's gonna work 7-day, 100-hour work weeks for months on end, getting paid anywhere from less than $3 an hour to $5 a fucking day. Because it's just not right. And if you speak in business better than morals, it's not operationally sustainable. And unless people are content with letting Japanese anime,
is so fucking sad. Yeah.
With all of its history, its people, its products, and its influences burn straight into the ground and become another part of history where we wonder what could have been, nothing's going to change. Which means that, well, the fate of anime is really up to the people that watch it. Us. To decide whether or not we're okay with the way history is going. Not knowing that behind every opening we skip, every filler episode we see, and every canceled season we lament, the people who made what changed so many of our lives continue to fight, to share their dreams with us, to share their stories with us, to share their anime with us. And I think it's about time we give something back.
Yeah.
For the first time I fucking use this thing for anything outside. Okay, I mean I messed up the final one, so it's fine. Still got some time. It's cold. It's cold.
Honestly, everything is so fucked up. There's so many problems with anime that I honestly just feel it'd be best if it went and died.
現場は貧乏なのかっていうのがもうね今日聞いたらこれ一回でバッチリ分かると
He overturns due to the feelings of anime.
いう説明でございます。
経済対策として今の不景気というものに対応する。
もしもし。もしもし。こんばんは。こんばんは。
宇宙人。それで友人から借りた背広の上下を着て。
Can you hear me? Okay. Those who once fought so hard for justice, no, he wasn't the one that killed himself. It's the guy with the gun. What the fuck? Get off! No! I gotta treat you like a little baby. The former Secretary General of the Toei Labor Union left after Toei's massive layoff incident and from his position in the union as well. Since then, he has rarely, if ever, personally talked or recounted time at the Toei, except for one instance, which I'm about to show you. To those who once fought so hard for justice, their cause outliving their stay on this world.
それが高畑勲ことパクさんに出会った瞬間だった。その初めて言葉を。
Oh, what the heck? Isao Takahata, former vice president of the Toei Union, died of lung cancer on April 5th, 2008. Oh, butt cancer. So sad to see when people die of cancer, honestly. On May 15, 2018, Studio Ghibli held a memorial for the director where Miyazaki publicly spoke on the matter for the first time.
交わした日のことを今でもよく覚えています。黄昏時のバス停で
I first met him when I was waiting for the Twilight bus to Nerima.
僕は練馬行きのバスを待っていた。雨上がりの
The
水
young
たまりの
man was walking up the street toward me over the puddles from the previous night's rain.
残る通りを一人の青年が近づいてきた。次にパクさんに出会った。
The next time I saw him was when I was pushed into being on the Toei Animation Labor Union.
たのは東映動画労働組合の役員に押し出されてしまった時だった。パクさんは副委員長、
Before I knew
僕
it,
は
I became the Secretary General, and
職長にされてしまっていた。緊張で発見に苦しむ。
those days were hard on me. Many times I felt so sick to my stomach that I was almost throw up because of the
このような
pressure.
日々が始まった。パクさん、僕らは精一杯
We
あの
were
時
living our lives to the fullest back
したんだ。
then.
膝を折らなかっ
We stood so tall against all those hardships we all did.
たパクさんの姿勢は僕らのものだったんだ。ありがとう、パクさん。55年前に
Oh.
あの雨上がりのバス停で声をかけてくれたパクさんのことを忘れない。
After the rain stopped 55 years ago. Oh, that's so sad. Yaso Otsuka died of a heart attack on May 15, 2021. He was 89. Koyo Ashida died July 23rd, 2011. He was 67. Michael Kuyama died May 6, 2007. She was 70. Satoshi Kon died of terminal pancreatic cancer. Damn. On August 25th. In the middle of producing his latest movie, Kon decided to stay home when his diagnosis was revealed. Dreaming Machine has stood incomplete for now 13 years despite the script storyboard. Part of keyframes finished by Kon himself. Kon's final words were written in a long document where he It's about
ちょっと申し上げて、
we now are his
サイコサスペンスでトラグスの
さて、ここまで長々とこの文章にお伝えしてくれた皆さん、どうもありがとう。世界中に存する呼び物のすべてに感謝したい気持ちとともに腕を置くことにしよう。じゃあ、お先に。
Damn. Damn, that was